Machu Picchu, ancient city. Machu Picchu sits on the side of a high ridge in the Andes Mountains of Peru. Essential question: how do we explain what happened in the past? Read two different views about a past civilization. Point, counterpoint. The royal treatment. Machu Picchu was a royal estate. Machu Picchu, pronounced Ma-chu, Picchu, was a city that was part of the ancient Inca Empire, a civilization which once ruled much of western South America. Machu Picchu was built during the reign of the Emperor Pachacuti. It was abandoned in the early 1500s. Machu Picchu was found in 1911 by an American historian named Hiram Bingham. He came upon an intact settlement of stone structures. Because Machu Picchu was isolated, it was extremely well preserved. Though Bingham was not a trained archaeologist, he uncovered many remains from the site. Over the years, other archaeologists have studied these objects and structures to learn about the Incas. They have tried to figure out why they built a settlement in this location. Researchers have examined artifacts such as fragments of pottery and metal pins to find clues about the activities of the people who lived there. Historians have also looked at architectural details. This can help them determine how the buildings were used. A reasonable retreat. Some experts have concluded from these studies that Machu Picchu was built to be an astronomical observatory. They point out structures they believe were used to track the movements of the sun. However, other strong evidence supports a different view. The site was once a royal estate of the Inca leader. Historians of this opinion argue that Machu Picchu was too small to be a city. The number of dwellings suggests that only about 750 people ever lived there. The settlement and its objects were also constructed with great care. Moreover, the site was a relatively short distance from the capital city of Cusco. When it was cold there, the emperor and his family could head for a warmer environment at Machu Picchu. There he would have hunted, relaxed, and met with noblemen. Given this evidence, it is only reasonable to conclude that Machu Picchu was the emperor's home away from home. Counterpoint. Point. Eyes on the skies. Machu Picchu was used as an observatory. Machu Picchu was a city built on a site more than 7,000 feet high in the Andes Mountains of Peru. This special place was built during the 1400s, the era of Pachacuti. He was the ruler of the ancient empire of the Incas at that time. Some archaeologists think that the city was used by Pachacuti as a retreat. But other experts argue that the structures found at Machu Picchu indicate it was an Inca observatory. Incas and the Sun. Historians have pieced together what they know about Inca life. They have studied explorers' written accounts and remnants of Inca settlements. Historians know that the sun was important to the Inca religion. The Incas believed the movements of the sun in the sky affected their way of life. The Incas tracked the movements of the sun and used their observations to create calendars needed by farmers to plant their crops. Window to the sky. The fact that religion and agriculture were closely tied to the movements of the sun has led some experts to look at the structures at Machu Picchu in a new light. They believe the Inca probably built some of these as tools for tracking the sun, stars, and planets. One such structure is called the Temple of the Sun. Its curved walls partially enclose a space with a carved stone in the center. This stone appears to point to the center of a window that faces east. Archaeologists have studied these features to try to reconstruct how it worked as an observatory. They have found that at a certain time of the year, called the winter solstice, light from the rising sun in the east aligns precisely with the carved stone. The winter solstice is the shortest day of the year, which occurs in June in South America. Historical accounts of Inca life in other settlements indicate that this date was important to the culture, especially royal families. They would hold a festival of the sun, during which they performed ceremonies in honor of the sun god. Similar ceremonies could have also taken place at Machu Picchu. An ancient observatory. While other evidence indicates that the royal family used the site as a retreat, the royal family could have traveled here for the winter solstice. The importance of the sun to the culture and the placement and design of structures like the Temple of the Sun show that it likely was used as an observatory. Machu Picchu helped the Incas keep an eye on the sky. The Temple of the Sun marks the winter solstice.